more on that subject? Yes.
I'll say something that's happened fairly recently here is, just at work now. There's always that cognition that this is part of the path. Whatever I'm doing, there's always that cognition. Before, I could forget when I'm quite enthralled in work, and sometimes that will happen. But generally, there's always the cognition that this is all my practice.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever you're doing is part of your practice. It's part of the spiritual path. The spiritual path is not separate from daily life. It is daily life. 100% it's daily life. People want to make that, this is my spiritual path and this is my worldly life, and never the two shall meet. I need to have time. I need to make space in my worldly life for my spiritual life. And this is the wrong assumption. Daily life is the spiritual practice. 100%.
Initially, it took effort. There was no I want to keep it separate, but it took effort to remind me. But now it seems to be, there's always that cognition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the spiritual path is going to bring what's needed. Like I said, it's the path many times of hard knocks. Ego will get jolted, 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 jolted. You keep getting knocked on the head, knocked on the head, knocked on the head. Tough love. Universe brings tough love. It's like, wake up, get it. Are you enjoying this? Let me smack you upside the head again. Get it. Are you getting it yet? Are you going to stop and look at this? Okay? You don't like the repercussions? Then it's time to stop and look. Look deeper. Go deeper. Find out what's prior to this. Break the cycle. Obviously this isn't working. So stop and sit with it and be willing to look at it and see it. Really see it. Without running away from it. Really stop and see what's there. Okay. Look at the storyline for what it is. The drama that comes up around it. And you'll always find it self-justifying. Everyone's wrong, except for ego. If only. Why don't they see? I'm right. It goes round and around and around and around and around. Why me? Poor me. Ba 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 ba. Wah 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 wah. Continually. And keeps one on the wheel of suffering. So eventually we have to come to a point and sit and look at it point blank for what it is. Become aware of it without just knee-jerk reactions that have no awareness in them, just projections. Okay? So the path is about coming to a place of awareness where you can see what's taking place. And eventually it arises, neti, neti, not this, not this, not this, not this. You can see. Why not this, why not this, why not this? And it's not this to build another storyline. A bigger, better storyline. It's not this, not this, not this, because it's never been valid. Okay? So that's what eventually takes place. We just have to get to the point where that spontaneously begins to take place, and it will. The more awareness comes into place, the more depth comes, and the more one sees. And eventually things will break, and one will know absolutely, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm none of these. There will be a major shift that happens. One is drawn into witness state, begins to see. Okay? But eventually all that falls away. There will be another great surge and all of it will break and all of it will fall away into that which has always been prior to and will always remain in the midst and remains after. In that absolute. Okay? But we have to get to that point, and it takes time. It's not going to happen by an intellectual ping pong match that people want to engage in, you know, that it doesn't work that way. But it all comes out in time. Yes?
Sometimes when there's a lot coming up, it jumbles together so much that it doesn't seem... Often you can, okay, I'll feel what's happening here, but sometimes it's such a mess that it's almost like you can't... It feels difficult to sit with it or to look deep in it because it's so much doing that. What's best to do in that situation?
Yeah, in that situation, when so much is coming up that it's just revolving so quick, you can't get a handle on it, then you go back to the balanced breath. And you sit with a mantra. Okay? And you let things calm down to a low roar, you know, where it's back to one emotion rising or whatever it is, and then one can go back into really sitting with what's coming up. So this is why you're given the various practices, so you can work within that, what's coming up, how's it coming up. If it's just overkill and too much is revolving so quickly, then again, back to the mindfulness, you know, back to slowing down, back to one thing at a time, you know. Yeah. And of course, in the beginning, the mind is going to rebel. Anybody that sits for meditation, the minute they start sitting, they start to become aware of the thoughts and what's really there. And they go, oh my God, I'm not getting more quiet. I get more crap coming up. Yeah, it's because you're finally becoming aware of what's actually there. Okay. So again, all of this takes time. This is why Zen practitioners don't get to samadhi in a day. They sit. They sit, and they sit, and they sit some more, you know? And why? It takes years. Because there's a lot of jumble going on, a lot of jumble, a lot of emotion, a lot of, you know, garbage filters through. It takes a while before it stills enough and you slow down enough and enough in the moment that there's some clarity where you can begin to see. And then once one begins to see, then one progresses again further into neti-neti or further into self-inquiry, which will arise on its own time.